Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. And for the record, my name is Diane Rosenbaum. I'm the senator from District 21, which is Southeast Portland, Milwaukee, and Oak Grove. And I'm very pleased today to appear on this side of the dais and be able to kick off what is, I think, a very important hearing in the Capitol on the subject of minimum wage. And I think others will talk more specifically about the bills as we go forward. So I would just like to set the stage and give you a little background. And I'd like to start by talking a little bit about the history of the minimum wage in Oregon, which is a long and proud history. In fact, if you go back to the early part of the 20th century, you will find that there was a young woman named Carolyn Gleason who went to work in the sweatshops in downtown Portland and was so appalled by the conditions that she found there. She was somewhat working undercover, experiencing the conditions herself, that she came to the Capitol and worked to pass the very first minimum wage law in the country. It applied to women at the time, but that law became the model for the National Fair Labor Standards Act. So I think you can fairly say that Oregon did have the first minimum wage law in the country and led the nation and became a model for later laws. That woman, Carolyn Gleason, later became Sister Miriam Teresa. She was a nun in the Order of Holy Child and went on to head the sociology department at Marylhurst College. My own history with the minimum wage does not go back quite that far, but it does go back some 25 years. In fact, I think the first time I came to the Capitol was in 1989 as part of a coalition trying to raise the minimum wage. And in fact, that year, the legislature did vote to raise the minimum wage. And in fact, that 25-year-ago vote was the last time that there was a vote of this legislature to raise the minimum wage. There have been votes on aspects of this since, but not a vote that actually resulted in an increase. So we do have a long and proud history. After that, because there were many failed attempts to get votes on bills, I was able to be part of a coalition in 1996 that resulted in an initiative that we placed on the ballot, and voters agreed to raise the minimum wage. And then in 2002, I was the chief petitioner of a subsequent initiative that actually raised our minimum wage in 3 stages and put our current cost of living annual increase into the law. So I had been part of both of those efforts. But now, colleagues, although I'm proud of that history, I think it is time to revisit the law that we have and see how it's working for Oregonians, because as it currently stands, our minimum wage is by no means adequate. Hardworking Oregonians who make this minimum wage, largely they're women, people of color, immigrants, and families, simply don't earn enough to make ends meet. And as our economy improves, and we're glad to see that, we're also seeing rent hikes and other costs going up. But a huge group of Oregonians who are workers are not seeing the results of that renewed prosperity. And it's becoming harder and harder for these Oregon workers to simply afford to live in Oregon. I think Oregon is on a destructive path driven by low-wage, no-benefit jobs that aren't working for our families and are dragging our entire economy down. An Oregon worker earning minimum wage at a full-time job today takes home just $19,240 a year. That's not nearly enough to afford housing, food, gas, and the other necessities for one person, let alone for a family, and forget about saving for the future, something everybody would like to do, but for these folks, it's not even within the realm of possibility. Putting more cash in Oregon minimum wage employees' pockets will boost spending and stimulate our entire economy. We have over 400,000 workers in Oregon who are living paycheck to paycheck on the current minimum wage, unable to support basic necessities and falling below the poverty line. So as our economy begins to recover from the depths of the recession, these Oregonians are being left behind. We must fight for these workers who are struggling to get by. The evidence shows that raising the minimum wage will bring the bottom up for everyone. No one here is interested in putting an unfair burden on Oregon's small businesses. And according to a study that I'm sure you'll hear more about today that was released last week by the Oregon Center for Public Policy, past increases in the minimum wage have not hampered job growth or small business growth. In fact, these increases in wages have been shown to increase worker productivity and lower turnover. The economic benefits of increasing the minimum wage to our economy, to commerce, and to families are clearly documented. My colleagues, we can't afford to push this issue off any longer. The stakes are simply too high. 25 years is a very long time for the legislature to go without voting to raise our minimum wage. I'm glad that we're starting this discussion today. I look forward to hearing from others and from the workers themselves about what this would mean. And thank you, Mr. Chair, for convening this hearing. It's an honor to be part of it.